This story happened in the capital of Greenland, Nuuk, in the 19th. I went home after a long work day. I was very tired when I get home, so I turned on the TV to see if there's something interesting going on. Not long enough, I turned off the TV and took the book my friend advised me to read. I lay down on the couch and began to read the book. The book was very good and not long enough. I forgot how tired I was when I first come home. After a while, I sat up to go to the kitchen to get a glass of water. You see, I have a clock in the kitchen, a small one. When I look at it, I was surprised to see it was 1:15 a.m. I quickly got up to go to the bathroom to brush my teeth and went to bed. While I was about to fall asleep, I began to hear something in my kitchen, and it sounded like he or she is looking for something because I could hear things moving around. I looked at my watch. It was 1:45 a.m. I thought it was odd because I'm alone in the house, and if someone has come in, I would hear it, and I locked the door right before I went to bed. The sound from the kitchen stopped, and I began to hear someone breathing very heavily out there. I tried to sit up, but I couldn't move a thing. I began to notice that the breathing I hear is not only out there, but also besides me. The one who is breathing besides me began very suddenly laughing at me. It was a very scary laugh, and I would say it was an evil laugh. I tried to move. I tried to move again, but I still couldn't move. And I began to hear the one in the kitchen is beginning again to look for something. And right after, I can hear that it has begun to walk towards my bedroom. Slowly, a shadow of a man began to show up, and I could hear it is laughing at me. I began to notice that the shadow man is holding something shiny in its left hand. And I began to realize the shadow man is holding a knife. I began to feel that I have begun to sweat a lot, but at the same time, I'm very cold. It was because of the other one I'm freezing, because of its breathing. I couldn't see the other one, but I could hear it and feel its breathing with very bad smell. I look at the shadow man and try as hard as I can to move, but I couldn't move. The only thing I could move are my eyes. I could suddenly see the shadow man's red eyes staring at me, and I felt like he is smiling at me, and as if he is ready to attack me. Never in my life felt the urge to leave. The other one began to talk to me. We are here to get you locked from your life. If you're not willing to give us it, the shadow man is going to eat your heart. By then, I've given up. What am I supposed to do when I can't move? I look at the shadow man and couldn't do anything. The shadow man moved one step towards me. Then the other one spoke again. He will rip you open and eat your heart. I began to panic and try to move, but I still couldn't move. The shadow man stepped closer. The one who was beside me began to laugh at me. and the shadow man began to make weird dog-like growl and got even closer. Right before the shadow man touches me, I move very suddenly, and then the shadow man disappears. I set up to try to look around, but I'm alone. I feel very sick. I stood up to go to the kitchen. I walked very slowly, scared, thinking, what if there's someone in the kitchen? I walked out to the kitchen very slowly, prepared for the worst. Finally, I approached the kitchen and saw that there's no one there. Nothing have moved. Everything is the same as I left it last time. I went to the fridge to get some water. After I drank the water, I closed the fridge and began to notice that there's something moving in my left side. I looked, and there it is, standing in front of the door. It scared me to see what the shadow man is holding. A knife. I freeze. I couldn't move. Then it began to walk towards me very slowly. I could see that he is talking, but I couldn't hear it. I tried to listen what it is saying. I began to realize it was saying, "Finally, you can escape. Finally, I'll eat you." I was so scared that I fainted. I began to wake up, laying down in the kitchen floor. While I was trying to stand up, I began to feel that my head is soaking wet. I touched my head to see why it is so wet. I saw my hand after I touched my head. It's blood. I screamed, and I think it was because of my screaming I didn't faint. I looked around and saw more blood on the table. I must have hit the table with my head when I fainted, and that's maybe why I'm bleeding. After I took care of the blood, I went to my living room to call the hospital because I thought I needed stitches. Right before I reached the phone, I began to notice something moving in the corner of the living room. I looked around and saw a baby child. He was crying and trying to stand up. Apparently, the child has noticed I was looking at it and began to look at me with an evil smile. Then suddenly, it began to laugh very loud. I've never heard that laugh before. And it didn't laugh like a baby or a child, for that sake. The sound of the laughter began to change rapidly and began to sound almost like demonic, more like a polar bear growling. The baby child began to walk slowly towards me. The baby child stops and began to lick the blood drops at the floor. And by then, I began to feel my body getting heavier and heavier. After the baby child has licked the blood drops, it jumps on me and began to lick at the cut in my head. The baby child began to laugh. The laugh was so scary, I couldn't bear to hear it. Suddenly, the baby began to scream. Then I woke up. I found out that I fall asleep while I read the book, and the licking I felt was my dog that licked me while I'm sleeping.